Time for the Fox 26 Tropical Update. I'm meteorologist John Dawson, where we get a chance to kind of dive into things, spend a little bit more time talking about what's happening. We do this every day a little bit after 4 p.m. Central Time, even on the weekends. Make sure you're checking that out. I think the main story, I think the lead is still going to be Tropical Storm Dexter. This is not a very exciting storm, to be perfectly honest, and I'm not going to be complaining about that. It continues to kind of just hold steady with the strength, and actually it's weakened just a little bit. If you'll remember, we had 45-mile-an-hour winds. Now we're down to maximum sustained winds at about 40 miles an hour. This, of course, is the 4 p.m. update from the National Hurricane Center, and we're keeping this thing tracking out away from the east coast of the United States, and eventually this thing's going to start losing some of its tropical characteristics. We've got it sort of drawn in here still as a tropical storm, but I think by the time we get into Saturday, maybe even in some parts of the day on Friday, it'll transition to a post-tropical low pressure system. It'll still kind of act like a tropical storm, but it won't technically be one. And we do expect, though, when we get into Thursday and early in the day on Friday, that it could increase its wind strength. Even if it's sort of, again, losing its tropical characteristics, those winds could still be increasing. So all that worth watching, but really nothing's going to happen to any land masses. So we kind of been keeping an eye out sort of low to the south near the equator, where we've been watching for another tropical wave that moved off the coast of Africa. This wave is going to continue to move and eventually kind of make it into this orange shaded area here. The National Hurricane Center is giving this a 50% chance that it would develop that particular tropical wave. And there's another area even much closer to the U.S., right off the coast of the Carolinas pretty much, that we're looking for the possibility of a little low pressure system spinning up and maybe becoming tropical. Hurricane Center says this has a 40% chance, and both of these areas are really from a 3 to 5 day outlook. It's not something that's going to happen in the real short term. And the system that's out in the Atlantic will be fighting some of the Saharan dust. You notice there's a little spin right here happening in the lighter shades of brown. These darker shades are where the dust is thicker, always more difficult for a tropical system to form, but that's something that's going to have to kind of work together in order to form. It probably will be struggling. So we've talked about that official track from the National Hurricane Center. Here's what that spaghetti models look like as they continue to take Dexter on out. What I want you to notice here on the Fox weather model, of course that's exclusive to the Fox entities, here's Dexter very clearly marked, and it's going to continue to move up to the northeast. But I mentioned that area off the Carolinas that could be forming, and you'll have to kind of watch for it, but you get a little bit of rotation in here, somewhat broad at first, and then it tries to tighten up just a little bit. This is all the way into Saturday and Sunday. It'll be an area of watching. That's again what the Hurricane Center is doing with that, and the weather model, the Fox weather model, picking up on that quite a bit. We're into August now, and it's like we flipped the switch. Just like the history books would indicate, we get into August and the activity starts to ramp up. Now, this doesn't necessarily guarantee more landfalls or more impacts by tropical systems. It's just the formation and the numbers and the count that continues to sort of move up. And with all these areas that we're watching, again, that's sort of proof kind of what we're talking about. This is one of the main areas that are looked for when we're talking about named storms, and that's somewhat close. This is a little bit lower in the latitudes than what's being watched right now by the National Hurricane Center. This is kind of, again, a historic look at where storms form in August, where tropical storms would form in August. And so there is a little bit of a favorite area off of the East Coast as well, which is where that second area is. So let's switch, though, and more specifically hurricanes, not just named storms, but hurricanes. It is actually more favored here off of the East Coast than it is out in the central Atlantic. So all of that worth watching, just kind of, again, letting you know where the history books show us what's happening. Dexter's off the board. I know you've been listening for that to happen. Dexter is formed. Aaron will be the next name that we're looking for. So if either of those other areas get enough of their tropical characteristics together, it's Aaron that we'll be finding. And again, just a reminder, 14, 7, and 3. 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, 3 of those being major hurricanes. That's an average season if you take a look at the last 30 30 years. And both NOAA and Colorado State University, the two highest official kind of looks into the outlook, is kind of what those are looking for right now. So that's going to wrap it up for today's tropical discussion. As mentioned, we're here all the time of hurricane season. Make sure you're checking in with Fox Local. You can look on fox26houston.com, and don't forget, click on over and check out the update on YouTube as well.